coming around in the cellar, and he'd be up there improvising at the table, and you know who else was laughing along? Colin. Fucking,
when you see your friends be phony, there's nothing better. I guess I do. A banana would talk like an old black guy, you know? It's like, what would that preacher say? I fucking love that. There's also a disappointment. Like the flip side of that coin is being disappointed watching your friends schmooze.
Oh, yeah.
Being like, oh, hi.
I had such high hopes for you.
Oh, yeah. You're like, I thought you were a real motherfucker.
And by the way, the time Colin chooses to smooth, like, you couldn't have done this with the Comedy Central executives when we were on Tough Crowd. You got to do it with Robin.
You could have got another season if you just knew who had
If you would just be nice to somebody and you didn't dig in.
Did you ever see that moment with Patrice where you were like, so close to Patrice, you're like, Patrice, just don't be a dick to this guy? Because like Patrice seemed like, and this is just coming from a guy that was an open micer, very young comic. Patrice seemed like a guy that you didn't want to get around because he would just fucking tear you down if you fucked up.
You know, I saw him in his private life getting like very regretful of things he did.
Sure.
Like, you know, I think he was 40 when he started. But we were talking, and I remember him going, man, I feel I'm irrelevant. I'm not. He was really bothered by the fact, and he started like apologizing to people. You know, everyone has that when they get to a certain age.
Yeah.
And so I think it did affect him, some of the shit that he had said and done, like, because he was a nice guy. Like, he was a big shit talker and a blabbermouth, but he was also like a really good person. Like,
yeah, there were moments, and I think young comics or guys my age now, like, do remember when you were around Patrice. It was something that Colin said actually on O&A when Patrice passed away, where he said he'd make 50%, he's up in heaven making 50% of the people feel comfortable and 50% of the other people feeling uncomfortable and then flipping it.
Yeah.
He was very good at that. He was very good at, like, if you were insecure. I remember being at Stand Up New York, like waiting to do check spots, and Patrice would talk to me. But then if I was like with other young comics like Joe List and Mark Norman, he would be like, get out of here.
Yeah.
He'd be like, fuck off. But in those moments where I was by myself and insecure, he'd be like, what are you doing? What is this? You know, in a way that you're like, oh shit. And then I would be like, oh, I know Patrice.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, hi, Patrice. And he'd be like, oh. And he'd be like, oh, shut the fuck up. But I always, you know, people do that now where they go like, I wish Patrice was around to hear what he says. And you go, he would have hated most of the people that say they wish he was around.
Anyone who says, what do you think Patrice was? I do love that though, because my thing is like, it's like, you know how happy he would be that he's been dead for all these years and people are still using him to torture us. like you fucking idiot. Like he would love that they were still mentioning him.
Yeah. He'd be like, Jim, you can't get rid of me. Yeah. I'm still haunting you, motherfucker.
Here's what he was really good at. He was very good. Like, there were times where I had like a couple of relationship issues. And when you would just talk to him one-on-one about something, like, he really was a good friend. And he was a guy who really he was a great negotiator. Yeah. And like, me and Keith were fighting in Brazil in 2003.
Oh, God, you guys and your fucking hooker trips.
It was some hooker fight.
The New York comic fucking Brazilian summer camp where just everyone would go and cum in people. It was just like cum camp. You guys would go down there and just fuck. And then Keith would bust our balls that we didn't do that when we got older.
But I didn't fuck much. I did a little bit, but I would fall in love. I went down there. I got a girl who spoke English, and I don't even think I fucked her for the whole week. I was just like tried to wife her up and be close.
Oh, you'd listen to stories?
Oh, and me.
What's the favela? What's the favela like?
Yeah, what is your experience? How much do you make a month?
Oh, is your brother good at soccer?
I remember when I got back to the U.S., I was sending her like a Spider-Man DVD. I was sending her. I really, again, I'm an in love sap.
Do you think she's still alive?
Her name is Fabiana. I don't know.
Fabiana, reach out.
She was very pretty. She had a little nose ring. Oh. But I remember me and Keith were fighting about something. I don't remember what. I mean, remember that time I argued with Keith? Like, you can't be friends with Keith and even remember what you fought about.
He starts in third gear.
He is the fucking
You walk in and he just goes,
cloud.
He walks in and he goes, I'm glad you 49ers stink. He'll walk in and say the most offensive thing. I love him.
But we were fighting. And I remember it was... Patrice was kind of acting as a go-between but he was very good at like, this is what Brazil means to you, and this is what it means. So he was a good negotiator at times, like when neither one of you was hearing each other. So he probably saved that trip so we didn't just fight the whole fucking trip.
Because he wanted to get his, and he was like, if these guys are fighting, it's gonna
kill the vibe.
It's gonna kill the vibe, and I need to fucking. I got this bag of dildos with me.
Yeah.
When Bobby told me that story, you're like, that's insane.
Dr. Dildo, I'll never forget that. Yeah.
You know what's funny is I remember this story that Big J told me where Patrice had a barbecue and he invited Nate, and then the next year Nate didn't get an invite, Bargatze, and Nate was like upset about it, and he called Jay and he's like, I think Patrice is like mad at me or something, and Big J called Patrice and was like, hey, is my buddy Nate say anything? You know, do you get an invite? And Patrice goes, no, invite Nate. He doesn't believe in dinosaurs. That's the kind of person I want at my barbecue. Not everyone agreeing with me. And that was such a rational take that you're like, that's hilarious. He's like, yeah, I don't want a guy that's just going to say yes to everything I say.
Right. Yeah. And
I want a guy that doesn't believe in science.
He liked a good debate. He liked the debate. He liked he liked to spar. Like every comic, he liked to spar. Like it was fun for him to get in there and make. And he didn't want somebody again. He said who he could run over.
Yeah.
Because he would always pick on big targets. I remember one time, like there was some guy came in to the cellar and we were sitting there, and he was like a big, kind of psychotic looking guy, and he came over, and Patrice started making fun of him and fucking with him, and then the guy left. And I forget what the wording was, but I called Patrice out. I'm like, you just did that so he would think, well, you're the guy who will make fun of anybody. And he laughed, and he's like, yeah, you always see my phoniness.
Right? Yeah. That's got to be incredible.
He owned
because
it.
He was the person that everyone said could call out their phoniness.
Yeah, but he was as phony. He was the same guy.
But you know what's so funny? That is great that he goes, shit.
He knew, but he knew he wasn't dishonest about that stuff. Like he knew that he knew exactly what he had done.
Yeah.
And he knew that I saw it, just like he would have seen it if I did it.
Yeah. I mean, that's like when I love watching Shane Gillis be around famous people. He bullies them, and they don't have that, so they love it. Where he goes like, what are you, gay or whatever? And they're like, shut up. And then they're like NFL players who are giant men.
Yeah.
They're like walking gods in modern day NFL. And then Shane's like, whatever. Fucking gay wad. And then they're like, you want to be friends?
Yeah.
Because they like it. Because it's like a lack of phony when you can cut to someone like that.
When you tease somebody, or when you talk to somebody in a way that they're not used to being talked to, but it's genuine. It's not shitty.
That's why